My sister used my adoption against me for years, so I made our parents wish they'd picked me twice. I was adopted when I was 3, and my parents had my sister Aaliyah 2 years later. Growing up, they always made sure I knew I was loved and chosen, but Aaliyah had other ideas. Whenever we fought, Aaliyah would pull out the adoption card. At least mom and dad actually wanted me. Or, you're not even their real daughter. It hurt every single time, but my parents would just say, siblings fight, and move on. The final straw came at my high school graduation party. I'd just been accepted to Stanford with a full scholarship, and everyone was congratulating me. Aaliyah, who was a sophomore, couldn't stand not being the center of attention. In front of all my friends and extended family, she said, "It's so funny how hard adopted kids try to prove they belong. Like, we get it, you're grateful mom and dad rescued you from whatever trash situation you came from." The entire party went silent. My grandmother looked horrified. My friends were staring, but Aaliyah wasn't done. I mean, at least when I succeed, it's because of actual family genes, not just desperation to prove I'm worthy of being kept. That's when something inside me snapped. But instead of crying or yelling, I just smiled and said, "You're absolutely right, Aaliyah. I should be more grateful." Then I started planning. See, Aaliyah had always been the easy kid, while I was supposedly the challenging one. But what my parents didn't know was that I'd been covering for Aaliyah's screw-ups for years to keep the peace. The drinking, I'd been sneaking her into the house and cleaning up her messes. The failing grades, I'd been doing her homework. The good girl reputation, I'd been her alibi for everything, so I stopped. The next week, when Aaliyah came home drunk at 2 a.m., I didn't help her sneak in. I let her stumble through the front door and wake up our parents. When she begged me to write her English essay, I said no. She failed and had to go to summer school. When she asked me to cover for her while she snuck out to a party, I told our parents exactly where she was going. But the real masterpiece was her college applications. Aaliyah had been planning to apply to all the same schools I'd gotten into, riding on her perfect daughter reputation. What she didn't know was that I'd been the one maintaining that reputation. I'd been volunteering at the animal shelter under her name for community service hours. I'd been tutoring kids and putting it on her resume. I'd even been ghostwriting her personal essays for school assignments that teachers used as recommendation letter material. When college application time came, Aaliyah had nothing. No real volunteer work, no genuine achievements, no authentic voice in her essays. Meanwhile, I'd been building my own separate record of accomplishments that were actually mine. The guidance counselor was confused when Aaliyah's application was completely different from her school record. Teachers couldn't write recommendation letters because they realized they didn't actually know anything about the real Aaliyah. Aaliyah's applications were disasters. She got rejected from every school she applied to, except the local community college. But here's the beautiful part. I never told my parents what I'd been doing. I just let Aaliyah's true self show naturally. When my parents saw Aaliyah's grades plummet, her behavior spiral, and her college prospects disappear, they started asking questions. Why is Aaliyah so different from how she used to be? What happened to our responsible daughter? How did we not see this coming? That's when I finally told them everything. How I'd been covering for Aaliyah for years. How she'd been cruel about my adoption while I was protecting her reputation. How the perfect daughter they thought they had was actually me cleaning up after their biological child. My mom cried. My dad was furious. Not at me, but at Aaliyah for the adoption comments and at themselves for not seeing what was happening. Aaliyah tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Her real grades, her real behavior, her real character, it was all there once I stopped hiding it. Aaliyah's now at community college, working part-time, and living at home under strict rules.